In only 2 years, we've helped transform what was once a grassy paddock into a lush, regenerating, tiny native forest. I'd like to do a few things: go over the project, give a brief summary for those of you who might be new to it, then secondly, give a few updates with regards to some of the plants. We had some flooding in the wintertime, so not all plants made it through that. Nonetheless, a lot of them are still happy and thriving. And then last but not least, just give some beautiful overview shots because it sometimes can be a bit unbelievable to see how well this project is taking off, and having only 2 years of being in the ground, some of these plants are amazingly tall. There's also one tiny little detail that you need to know about this project and my involvement. It's a little confession, but let's do some updates first and I'll get to that in a minute. This is a plot of land which used to be a bare paddock, like you can see on that side, so a couple hundred square meters in size. Over the past 2 years we planted over several thousands of native New Zealand plants straight into the grass with only a sleeve and sometimes a mat. Very little effort, very little work. We have done no spraying, barely any weeding, and the only thing that really happened basically is planting the plants. When the plants were planted, most of them got a protective sleeve and some of them got a woolen mat underneath them to kind of suppress the weeds. With regard to the labour input for this project, we've had a total of 7 planting days. All of the planting days were supported with volunteers, and then after the first year, after the plants went into the ground, those plants were then released over a total of 4 days. So all the plants that were in the ground, the grass was stomped down around them to release them from the grass pressure after the first year. Other than that, the plants have been left to their own devices, and as you can see, most of them did not mind that treatment. They have really taken off. That being said, I'd like to dive into the plants and have a wee look at some of the species that are growing, some of them that have struggled, and just give you a general overview of what's growing. This Mānuka, which you can see right here, is as tall as I am, and I'm no small person, but these Houheres, these trees right behind me, are even taller. They are reaching probably up to 2.5 meters. So that's 2.5 meters of growth with only 3 years of being alive. So from seed, planting after 1 year, and then 2 years of being in the soil and growing. And this is the result of some of those trees. We had some major floods in July, so that's the second winter for this project. And one species in particular really struggled with the amount of water and the waterlogged soil that happened during that time. And I'm talking about the pittosporums. So we've got Houhere over here, and you'll see quite a few brown spots throughout the patch, and that'll either be the Houhere or the tarata, lemonwood. Both of them are from the pittosporum species, and apparently they don't like wet feet, at least not for a prolonged period. That's what happened. So all the brown spots, or most of the brown spots, are going to be the pittosporums that sadly passed away this winter. It doesn't take away that they grew well in the first season. You can see that most of them will be either knee height or hip height or even taller than that. So they really thrived throughout the first season, but then just really got hammered by the rainfall. Dead ones, like these ones, will still serve a purpose in the transition from a grassy paddock into a luscious native forest. As they slowly decompose, the carbon will feed the soil, the roots will break down and feed the microorganisms in the soil, and also the leaf matter will drop down and feed the soil. So even the losses, which are inevitable in projects like these, do contribute to the overall aim of the project, which is transitioning it from grassland into a forest. There are spots where some of the pittosporums, in this case tarata, which you can see just over on this side, lemonwoods, which have survived the onslaught of the winter rains. Same goes for the other pittosporum, the Houhere or black matipo. You can see a few right behind me along this edge. Some of them survived, but overall I guess the message is that the pittosporums really struggled with the wetness of the winter time and the high water table. Then another straggler, one of the other species that seems to have struggled, which kind of was indicated last year as well, is some of the lancewood. I'm not too sure what the cause is, but some of them around here are on the edge of dying, passing away, or at least not really thriving as some of the other plants are. So now for some good news, let's look at some of the plants that have really thrived in this specific project. There's quite a few, and the list of plants that are thriving and are growing and are happy and healthy is a lot longer than the species that we've lost along the way, which is also one of the reasons why diversity is so absolutely essential in these kinds of projects, and to be honest, biodiversity on the planet in general. So whenever you get a chance, plant diversity and make diversity one of the key components of any planting project that you do. Let's rattle off some plant names of some of the chaps in this project. We've got New Zealand flax, of course, deals with dry, deals with wet, deals with pretty much anything you throw. Absolutely essential to have. Right beside it, there's Pukio, swamp sage, one of the characters, seems to be doing very well. We've got Mānukas in here. We've got some of the tea coca, which is the cabbage tree, which also does well in a lot of different situations. And then if I turn around, we've got heaps of karamu, which is one of the coprosma species, which is taking off. And then, of course, the ultimate winners so far is the houheres, which are, all of them pretty much are more than 2 meters, 2.5 meters of growth in only 3 years' time. Let's not forget Kānaka, of course. Kānaka and Mānuka both been planted, both thriving. One other major important aspect of this project was to do a very high density of planting, and as you can see behind me, that density has been achieved. However, in some spots it might seem like we lowered the density. That's not necessarily the case. There's just been a staggered planting process, which basically means plants have been planted over the past 2 years in different phases. So that means that in some spots where it kind of looks like the density is a bit lower, actually those plants are just a lot smaller and are not as far along in their growing process as some of the plants that have been planted earlier. Right, now with some of those formalities out of the way, we can get straight to some of the juicy stuff. I'll cut to a nice music montage with a bit of drone footage to show you the progression over the years and just give you an overview of what it was and what it looks like now. So then for my confession, this is actually not my project. I was just tagging along, documenting and learning as we went. However, now I've got my own project. This is my new little project. Together with my partner, we've bought 22 hectares of bare land and we're going to regenerate it all into native forest and a cheeky little food forest on the side. If you want to know more, you can click on the video right down here.